Hey there everybody, I'm Jortles, and well, this is a little bit of a different entrance in today's video, because I wanted to inform you guys that if you've been noticing any of the notification squad people out there, that I posted this Object 268 versus 263 video 3 times in a row, and especially the people out there on the Discord. Sadly, YouTube has been having a lot of issues today, and I've been asking some other creators, and yeah, they definitely have been having issues. Just sadly, the clips on my audio files, and as well the replays, are not lining up correctly in the YouTube Studio Editor once I do upload the video. So, a little bit of a bummer, but I'm going to try it one more time here. Third time is the charm, as we do know. So, hopefully everything will be going well, and I'm going to try and post this video within the next couple of hours, and yeah, we'll see. Hello there, World of Tankers, I'm Jortles Blitz, and in today's video, well, as you can see in my garage, we have both of the Russian Tier 10 tank destroyers. We have the Object 263 and as well the Object 268. Now, the Object 268, as we all know and love, is one of the most played Tier 10 vehicles in the game. It's got good mobility, good frontal armor, it's also got a pretty dang good gun. Everything that you can think of you want on a Tier 10 tank destroyer, this vehicle has going for it. And while the Object 263 doesn't necessarily have all of the same attributes going for it, at the same time, it's also got some very special numbers I'll be talking about when we do crack into this vehicle. So I figured, you know what, these are both Tier 10 Russian tank destroyers, so why not make a comparison video? They're not super similar, but you guys may want to find out, if you're going to grind down the Russian tank destroyer line, which one of these vehicles do you want to pick up? Are you going to go for the 263, or are you going to go for the 268? So we're going to be starting off with the 263. Of course, I'm going to be telling you, just like all of my other comparison videos, not only which vehicle is better to play, but also at the same time which one is more enjoyable, because of course this is a game after all, and having fun is definitely a big factor over, in my opinion, just a better overall vehicle. So the Object 263, well, what is good about the tank? Well, first of all, you'll notice, oh boy, this gun is just amazing. First of all, its aiming time is great at 3.5 seconds. Dispersion of only 0.290 is some of the best values you'll find for a Tier 10 tank destroyer. In fact, that's like the same accuracy you'd find of a Tier 10 medium. So the gun is great on the accuracy. Not only that, it's got 3,856 damage per minute, which is ridiculous. This is one of the few Tier 10 vehicles in the game that I actually run gun rammer on, because I'd much rather get that maximum damage per minute out. 7.16 reload, and you're getting out 460 damage a shot. It's kind of crazy how much DPM this vehicle does have, and if you're shooting HE, let's say a vehicle like a Batchat or a Grill, yeah, you better buckle up, Grill, because you're really going to be in for a tough ride. So it's got also very nice standard pen at 290 millimeters. That means that you're easily going to be punching through some of the thickest frontal skulls. Now, of course, you are going to have to load premium if you're going up against vehicles, let's say like, I don't know, a Jagdpanzer E100 superstructure, or an E100 if it's angling its turret, a mouse. You're definitely going to have to load the gold occasionally, but it's actually kind of weak on the gold. You'll notice it's only 330 millimeters a pen, which is, in my opinion, plenty to still get through pretty much any opponent you are going up against, because it does shoot a PCR, which, in my opinion, is definitely a level up over heat, because, of course, heat ricochets, or it doesn't ricochet, but should I say it dissipates in spaced armor, where APCR shells do not dissipate whatsoever. They go straight through it, damaging the enemy and tracking them at the exact same time. So overall, you'll notice that the gun on this tank is strictly amazing. Now, there's one issue, which is the gun turn limit, which is, it does actually go quite far up at 18 degrees, but gun depression, ooh boy, 4 degrees is definitely a big downside. That means that you're very unflexible. If you're trying to push this in any scenarios, it's really going to fall apart. If this vehicle had 5 degrees, it definitely would be way stronger in certain scenarios, but you got to know where to position it correctly, because yeah, that gun depression really is a struggle. Now, moving on to the mobility, this tank weighs a massive 60 tons, which is very impressive, judging that the frontal armor on this tank is also very strong. So it's excellent at ramming. It's got over 1,200 horsepower, which gives it a great power to weight ratio of 20.5, an average speed of 35, and a top speed of 55 kilometers per hour, and even reverses at 20. So it's a very, very mobile tank. It's able to turn some of the quickest values at 38.77 degrees a second as well. So overall, the Object 263 is not only super duper mobile, but it's also got a great gun going for it. Not like the SU-122-54, the Object 263 actually has a decent armor profile. It's definitely not the best, but the upper plate is about 350 millimeters thick, which is pretty much impenetrable to any shells going at it, but it definitely has its weak spot, and that is the gun mantlet. It's only about 250 millimeters base, which is pretty impressive. That means that most standard shells are really going to struggle to pen it, but at the same time, that means that pretty much all premium shells have the about, I'd say, 70 to 80% chance to pen it, so it's definitely weak, but at the same time, if you know what you're doing, it really is a super strong tank. I sort of play it like a Foch, where you can be semi-aggressive, but at the same time, you definitely got to keep an eye on your surroundings. So, of course, without further ado, let's get straight into some gameplay here with the Object 263 to show you what is good about the tank and as well, at the same time, what is bad. So, it definitely is one of the trickiest tier 10 tank destroyers to run in the game, and that's why I really like it, is because, you know, the 268, it's kind of got everything going for it. It's the jack of all trades. It's got the armor, it's got the DPM, it doesn't have great DPM, but it's got a very solid amount. It's just got everything kind of going for it, where the 263 is very special, I'd say, where, you know, it doesn't necessarily have the best armor in all places. It does have good armor, but this tank's not really renowned for the armor. The main thing on this tank is the gun and the great mobility that it has. So it's able to rush medium tanks and really rip them apart. And not only is it able to really rush the mediums, it's also able to really hold its own where the damage per minute is a really solid number. So this game here, I'm noticing that they got an E5, an AMX 5120. They don't really have massive alpha heavies, which means that I can push this vehicle fairly aggressive here. Now, of course, that is an Object 268, but there you go, got a nice ricochet right on the frontal armor, as I was expecting there, which, yeah, you know, that's the nice thing about this vehicle. And now we can turn it right to the front here, nice little tap in to the T110 E5 there, and we have such a good DPM that we might actually be able to out-reload this guy pulling out, so if he does try and do that here. So, of course, the main thing I really want to be careful from is, like, that enemy 268 on the other side. But at the same time, I can stay fairly aggressive here. There we go. The E5 did pen us, but at the same time, let's get a nice tap right back into him there for 419 damage. We did get hit by the AMX, but it's not the end of the world. Let's see if we can get another pen into that E5. There we go. Another penetration there. Come on, bounce the shot on us. There we go. Getting the occasional bounce. Again, it's not the best armor, but it's good enough to do the deed. And, well, yeah, you can see I'm doing the best I can right here. Now, sadly, my team is not doing the best, I can say. They're trying to do a pretty swell job, but they're definitely struggling in some of the aspects. So here we go. Definitely kind of struggling here in some of the aspects at the same time. You know, I've got the mouse here, which has a lot more HP than us, of course, which makes sense. It's a mouse. But that definitely comes with its own set of drawbacks. First of all, that mouse definitely can easily trade us. But this AMX here is really struggling to deal with us. And you know what? We're doing the best we can here. I really hope that this AMX bounces the shell. There we go. Another bounce. Still doing the best I can here. Come on. There we go. We're still kicking. Doing the best. And let's turn to the tank to the side here. There we go, finishing off the 268, and woof, that was a really tough circumstance. So you can see that the gun, while we necessarily did not do the craziest amount of damage there, well, actually we did 4,000, like that is a pretty crazy amount when you do think about it here. Now that the mouse did fire, of course, we can unload even more damage per minute. I know that I can literally out-reload this mouse, even though he did fire before us, because I do have such a crazy gun. So there you go, 2 nice shots into that mouse, nice shot from the T92 and that was a pretty dang good victory. So that was what, around 4,900 damage there. As you could see, it was very, very tense at the last couple of seconds. I really had to pay attention. 5,000 damage. And that's where the 263 really does well, is you can rack up the damage extremely quickly. That game was only about, what, 2.5 minutes at that? How long was it? 2 minutes and 28 seconds. So about that on the dot. And in that 2 minute and 28 second game, we were able to do 5,000 damage. So really crazy on how much damage it is capable of getting out in that short amount of time. So now we move on to the Object 268, which is known as the jack of all trades, or at least in my opinion. And that's because the Object 268 literally has everything going for it. First of all, it has good damage per minute, about 3,000. Not only does it have good damage per minute, its penetration is sitting at 318 millimeters on your standard and about 418 on your premium, which is pretty ridiculous when you do think how deadly your premium rounds are in this vehicle. You can literally penetrate through the upper plate of a mouse, even if it was angling it up. It's kind of crazy how good the premium is on this vehicle. Not only does it have good premium pen, this vehicle is based on the IS-8 chassis, or the T10 if you're from the World of Tanks PC world, but what that means is that the upper plate on this tank is actually very nice. It's about 230 millimeters thick. The superstructure of the tank is about 240, so it does get the nice occasional bounce overall. Everything on this tank is very nice, and unlike the Object 263, which is sitting at 460 average damage, the 268 is sitting at 640, so definitely the numbers a little bit twisted there for the Object 268, but of course alpha, at least in my opinion, is definitely key, especially for a vehicle. Imagine if the 263 had 640 alpha with dealing the same damage per minute. That would be crazy. So here we go, we got the Object 704 right out in the open, and Well, you can definitely see what happens when your aiming time is definitely a little bit longer. And as well, I'm noticing a little bit of a bad trend right here, which is that. That is not something I want to run into. That's a lot of deadly vehicles. We've got the Object 704 out in the open, but yeah, that is the T10E4 who is going to be pulling out to try and shoot the Progetto, it would appear. And he did, but you know what? We're going to get a nice little shot right to the side of him for 598 damage. So that's the nice thing, is that you have the alpha on this vehicle to trade with vehicles like a T10E4, where normally, you might only be dealing a little bit back, but the E4, I can easily get a nice amount of alpha shoved right up that guy. And yeah, definitely is going to hurt him. So here we go. Now we can push right into this position here. I'm hidden from pretty much all of the spots, and I definitely want to be careful because, of course, well, yeah, they got that E4 waiting right there. Let's see if we can make maybe bait a shot out of him. I might get penned, but it's not the end of the planet if we do here. Trying my best to bait the shot out. Come on, dudes. You know you want to do it. Or we could actually just back up here and try and pen him in the track wheel with an HE shot. That's not the end of the planet. But, yeah, this is just going to be kind of ring around the rosy right now for the shells trying to penetrate each other. But I can't complain. We got the HE out that I did want to get. And now we can easily, again, just try and get another HE out. We did get shot by that Batchet, though. So I'm just going to push up. There's no point not to by now. Let's get a nice pen. Okay, I see how it is. Wargaming not really wanting this to work for me here, but hopefully this Batchet will help me out here. We got the 113 as well from the back, and one thing I do know is that I do have quite a bit more DPM than the E4, so boom, getting the shot right in the lower plate, still getting out that damage there, and now I'm going to be pushing my tank very aggressive towards the IS-7 on the other side of the map. So what do we got? We do have that IS-7 all the way across the map, and ooh, I would love to be able to pen him with a shot. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to, but you know what? Looks like he might be pushing forwards here. Load that standard shell, and kaboom! 653 damage fired into that IS-7. So we're sitting at around 2,000 base damage right now, which isn't, of course, a ridiculous amount, but we still got this IS-7 who's quite healthy left, and let's see if we can get another shell out into this guy. I'll wait. I'll give him time until he maybe wants to pull out here. We'll see what he wants to do. Come on, IS-7, you know you want to push out. I will be waiting patiently for your arrival. But you've noticed that in this game here, I have pushed the vehicle quite aggressive. Once again, that's one thing you'll always notice me doing in these big, deadly tank destroyers, is pushing them fairly aggressive. Now, sadly, that shell missed, and we could have gotten a shot into that IS-4 there. But the nice thing about the 268, again, is that when you miss your shots, it is, not as devastating, because, of course, you deal a lot more damage per shot. So here we go. Let's see. We got that IS-4 pulling right out, and there we go, 746 damage. Again, that alpha really is key in certain scenarios. Like, now just one more shot and we've broken the 3,000 damage barrier, where the 263, I definitely would have had to fire a lot more shells to get out that damage, but at the same time, of course, the 263, I probably would have easily cleared the 3,000 damage barrier by this time in the battle. So we've got the 26, not the 26, I'm losing my mind here. We got the IS-7 right out in the open, and, well, yeah, I'm just going to pull out and try and rush this guy here. We should easily be able to pull out here before this guy has reloaded and maybe get a shot into him here. So that's exactly what I'm going to try and do. Nice little pen right into the frontal armor of that IS-7, and I'll let him deal with that WZ-113 because, of course, now I'm going to have to deal with somebody else, which is that IS-4. So let's go pull out. Let's even see if we can get maybe a shot. Oof, 113 messed up that shot. But, of course, we've got that wonderful high explosive, which is one thing that I forgot to cover. Of course, the 268 also gets that wonderful HE, which is really able to put the hurt on the enemy vehicles with dealing 960 average damage. So you'd think that pretty much everything I've said so far is kind of hinting towards the 263 in not really winning this comparison. And, yeah, I'm actually going to have to say that. You can see that this is a pretty simple game, able to come out in victory. And how much damage did we end up finishing off with? About 4,000 damage. Not a crazy amount, but again, a pretty solid amount for the battle that we did pull out. My voice is really dying late at night here, but that really showed that the 268 as well is really a strong tank. So both of these vehicles are really strong in their correct attributes. But the nice thing about the 268 is that it just has so many more scenarios where you can be so good, where, the 263, oh my god, it would have been the worst possible tank to play on Oasis Palms if we'd pushed dunes, because of course, I only have 4 degrees of gun depression, I have awful side armor, my track wheel's easy. That E4 probably could have made quick work of this if I wasn't playing correctly. So definitely there's scenarios where both of these tanks do very well, but I'm going to have to lean not only towards is the 263 a better vehicle overall, it's also more fun to play because the 263, And I hope I didn't say 263 is better. I meant the 268 if I did say that. But the issue with the 263 is while it is more fun for me to play, the issue is that for the average player, it's very hard to get out the great game as you saw there me do for 5,000. And even once you do get out a great game, you still have to be very conscious on what you're doing the next game and the next game. Where the 268, it's pretty simple. You push into a bush, you do 640, you push out, blah, blah, blah. It's just a very simple tank, and I definitely think that the 268 is going to win today's comparison. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But other than that, I hope you're all doing well out there. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.